Welcome back to the Moment Makers Podcast. We've got J.R. Galford with us again. Mm-hmm. Say what's up, J.R.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I reached out to him about a week ago and said, hey, we'd like to schedule have you back on sometime soon. We've got a new way of doing things. And he was like, hey, can you get me on sooner than later? Because the world's gone to shit.
Yeah, just slowly, piece by piece.
So we're going to get a little political here, a little bit offensive. So if you're easily offended, take that up with JR. He's the one that wanted to be on. Jeez. He actually started a Facebook page to have conversations and be okay offending people. Because his wife wasn't too keen on him using his personal page, and that's called Political Crossroads. It will be linked in the show notes below. JR, tell us a little bit about the Political Crossroads Facebook page.
So it's something I kind of been brainstorming a little bit, and I started doing on my personal page because I have friends from all over the political spectrum. I have people just from time in the military that are more leaning on the authoritative right side. I have people like you that are kind of like a libertarian centrist. I have libertarian right, libertarian left, and I started doing it on my personal page really to encourage open discussion and discussion to the point that there was going to be uncomfortable topics and hard questions. And my wife was just kind of like, hold up, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, my news feed is just getting absolutely destroyed from your stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to do this, maybe take it back a little bit, especially now that I have a kid on the way. So they kind of take it back a little bit off your personal page. And I thought about it. And really, that's kind of where the Political Crossroads was born. I was talking with some people, and what it is, I mean, I might venture a little bit into the podcast realm, but more so than anything, it's going to be kind of a place for open discussion. I'm going to have like a Across the Aisle web series where I'm going to bring people in from all over the political spectrum to discuss, their beliefs on things. I'm going to be asking them, questions I have from my side, and then questions that any, fans might have. And occasionally, if someone wants to do it, we'll do, a live feed of it. So, we can get, people's questions answered live coming from the opposite side in a controlled and moderated setting.
I think that's a dope idea, especially really cool. Just for the sake of having conversations. And maybe we can talk a little bit more after the podcast about helping you make that podcasting dream a reality, where we're in the podcast sphere. And we've got a couple of podcasts popping up in the Moment Makers community here in the next couple weeks. Daniel's got his own podcast, so maybe we can help you out with that. But I think having an outlet for conversation and showing people how to do it, because people don't know how to have a conversation, is pretty important. Because people, they have their biases, they have their beliefs, and if you try and change that or challenge that, you're attacking them. And
absolutely. If
you attack somebody, you're gonna get attacked back, because why would you attack somebody? That's irresponsible. So people need to learn how to have a conversation. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, and like you were saying right there, the political identities people are maintaining so hard right now, especially in today's day and age, to me, really isn't how the United States was founded. It was founded, on the idea of discussion and being able to have these conversations with each other in, I would even go as far as to call it a professional manner, to where you're not finger pointing, to where you're listening. And that's really kind of my goal with all this, is to provide people, like I said, from all over with a platform to have these discussions, and say, this is why I feel this. And then, ask them questions might have and just get some answers. And if someone, changes their mind along the way, that's okay too. Changing your mind is perfectly okay.
Well, and I think people need to be reminded that changing your mind on something based on new information is life. That's
a good thing.
That's part of being an adult, is taking new information in that you did not previously have and making a new conclusion based off of that new information. That's something that a lot of people don't have the ability to do. They suppress the new information as if it's not real and pretend it's never happened.
Because they don't want to admit that they're wrong.
I think a lot of people do it, but they do it subconsciously. Because if you meet anybody that's my age, 29, 30, even 40, and you talk to them, they're going to tell you how much their mind has changed since they were 18. They have the ability to do it, but everybody does it in their own way, and that's kind of my thing, is to provide that a person's own way to do that and have these conversations that really on Facebook tend to get out of hand because it turns into a finger-pointing mudslinging match.
Well, and so the two big ones are politics and religion, and those are two things that people, once they have a belief, they hold pretty strongly. And there's a term, it's called cognitive dissonance, where if you challenge somebody's belief, they tend to double down on their belief because you're challenging them. They take it as a form of attack, and they never deal with the challenge itself. They deal with the challenger.
Oh, absolutely. And like you were saying, holding on to those beliefs with religion and politics, I don't think you could find a war you probably find one or two wars in history that weren't fought over religion and politics, but probably 95% of every war in human history has been over religion or politics. And I'll even go as far as to say, expansionism is a form of politics.
Sure.
Someone wants to expand their territory, they want to expand the grasp of their politics. So people definitely hold on to that. And with the growth of social media, people have been able to find echo chambers for their beliefs and really kind of double down on, because they say, well, all these people believe this, but they do it without realizing subconsciously most people are going to gravitate towards people that hold similar ideas as they do. So in no fault of really their own, they create their own echo chamber.
Sure. And that's part of why everything that's going on right now is such a big deal. Because you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are privately owned companies that are then taking upon themselves to be the voice of reason on these platforms, because it's their company. They have a duty to rid content that's not deemed appropriate by their standards. And then you have the echo chamber itself is something the algorithm has given us. Whatever the algorithm actually is.
I mean, it's just all this information based on what your interests and likes are, and the algorithm is just everything that you know and like, and it just keeps feeding you those same things to feed your own mentality towards certain situations.
And I think that you have that on both sides. It's not specific to a left or a right. It's on both sides. Everyone has their echo chamber.
I think it's because, it keeps people passionate. If you have all this information about this one-sided thing, you're going to be this very one-sided. And if you're passionate about something, you're going to pursue it. You're going to spend money. You're going to do all these different things to be...
Well, and it's money, too. The algorithm knows what you like, and if you click on this link, whoever is in charge of showing you that link gets a little bit of something.
Exactly.
So it's all a money trail, but that's why the censorship is such a big deal, because you have people that feel as if their rights are being infringed upon, and it's a gray area. It's been a gray area.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's talked about it himself, where Twitter, Facebook, they take it on themselves to deem what's acceptable based on their beliefs. And they tend to have a left-leaning view of the world.
Yeah.
So they tend to censor anything that's a right-leaning conservative idea, which is harmful. It is.
But you definitely you do have the same thing on the other side of the spectrum.
You do, and that's why I don't
control.
I don't know if you've joined Parler at all. I don't know if you have, JR. I've hopped on Parler just to see what it is, because I keep getting links sent to me. It is very conservative.
Yeah, that's what I've heard,
and it's understandable, because the conservative ideology has been censored to the point of being non-existent on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why this one new social media would be conservative.
And which I feel kind of bad, for some of the people on Parler that, they've had to do that. And you read the terms and conditions of Parler, like that is some of the most insane terms and conditions I've ever read in my life. I mean, one of them is anything you post on there is now property of Parler. So,
oh wow,
say you were on there and you posted, one of these podcasts, Parler could legally take it, publish it, and make money off of it and owe you nothing.
I'm sure Facebook and Twitter have a version of that. I mean, I'm
not 100% sure on it. I know some places do, some places
I know
don't.
TikTok
but one that
does.
gets me is the indemnity clause that Parler has. And do I think it was smart business whenever the guy was creating it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But given some of the stuff I've seen come from Parler, I don't think it's good for the users because, that clause has, if Parler gets sued for anything any of the users say, Parler then can turn around and hold that user liable for all damages and defense costs.
Sure. Well, so my point on saying that censoring the one side or the other is harmful is because you have people that are radicals. You have people that are radicals on both sides. Censoring the right conservative is harmful because it makes the whole of social media that we use an echo chamber for the left. Mm-hmm. So it's not even the algorithm doing the work anymore. It's the actual corporations and networks that we use that are doing this echo chamber that we're all kind of forced into in a way. And it's a weird time to be in because we've never had this. I mean, social media hasn't been around but for 20 years.
Not even that.
Not really. Even 20. So this is new for everybody. And Jesus, goodness gracious. I apologize for that. If you could hear that on the podcast, I just got a message.
You're just so angry about it. You're throwing things now.
But that's my stance with it is that, these are private companies, but they're also doing harm where they might feel like they're doing good by censoring things.
And I can agree with censoring certain things to a point. There are certain things that don't need to be, spread. I mean, if but you're out and you're openly spreading hate and bigotry, that needs to be censored.
I disagree.
But it's went so far to this point. Like I've done time in the military. I have friends on the right, and they're good people. Like each and every one of them, give people, the shirt off their back. But it's getting to the point that, people I know and I care about that are on the right, that are good people, are getting censored. And it's not because they have some extreme, authoritarian belief in, something. It's really kind of, like you said, getting to the point to where we are getting a corporate echo chamber created. And really, once you start getting an echo chamber on any side, and I'm left-leaning, anybody that knows me knows that, and I'll say even left-leaning echo chambers are a bad thing because you need to be able to have these conversations and move forward, because it's kind of like building a house. You need that strong foundation, and you need more than, just concrete for a foundation. You need the rebar and the concrete for the foundation. You can't build a foundation with just rebar or just concrete. Otherwise, it's going to be faulty and the entire house is going to collapse. Yeah. And that's the way I'm starting to view echo chambers is, kind of like these faulty foundations for people.
Yeah. Well, I would actually disagree with saying some things need to be censored. I mean, of course, graphic images of any kind or inappropriate things, sure, but someone spreading hate speech, that's a bad thing. We shouldn't allow it. But I think that if someone's spewing that kind of rhetoric, they will inadvertently censor themselves.
How?
Well, I mean,
elaborate.
So if I go on Facebook and I start spouting off hate speech, mm-hmm. do you think that I'm going to get some negative feedback from that?
Of course you're going to get some negative feedback, but it's also going to instigate from anyone who also supports your point of view.
But so that's the stance that I take with not just social media, but with privately owned businesses, right?
Yeah,
so
I can see that.
If I'm a business and I don't want to make a cake for gay people, right? Like that was a big thing back years ago.
Yeah.
I should have the right to do that, right? That's
you have the right
speech.
to refuse service to anyone for regardless of reason. That's how it should be. Yeah.
With that being said, if I choose not to serve that person, that's going to be a negative outlook on my business because of my interaction with that person. So people that affirm for that person, whether in their lifestyle or with standing in solidarity, whatever, they will choose not to support my business.
Intricate way of putting it. Good job.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean, and that is how it is, and I think that's how it should be, and it's not a bad thing. But it becomes kind of a gray area when it comes to other things like hate speech and things like that.
Racism is a big one now, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be. We're in 2021. Here we are living through the fucking 50s and 60s again.
Yeah.
But racism is a big deal. However, I believe that if you believe somebody's less than you, let me clarify that. If you have the belief that racism is okay, let us know.
Yeah.
Right? Like
so that we can disavow you.
Why would that be something to censor? Why would you not want to know that your neighbor's a racist?
Yeah.
You know?
That's a valid point.
And I'm not talking about putting up yay Trump, whatever. Being a Trump supporter is not declaring you're racist.
Yeah.
Saying hate speech is declaring you're a racist.
Yeah.
So I think it would better suit society if we let people be themselves and made our own decisions based on what those people say.
I don't think it should be left. I don't know. It's a fine line because it shouldn't be left up to corporations. But at the same time, if you're in that position, wouldn't you feel this sort of sensibility that you should do something in order to have moral value to your business, your corporation, your thing that you're doing?
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
I kind of have a different take on it a little bit. And it's where I grew up, for years, just, small town, nothing going on or anything. And then when I was 6 or 7, I don't really remember it. I know my dad really remembers it because he owned a restaurant there, but we had some neo-Nazis move in. And I don't mean, oh, yeah, that guy's neo-Nazi first, but I mean like actual swastika wearing neo-Nazis going to meeting white supremacists.
Gotcha.
And I know at that point in time, my dad, wouldn't let him, they wanted to hold meetings and stuff at his restaurant and come out, and Dad wouldn't have it, which, at that point, it was just more of, okay, you're lost. We're going to come spend money here, but, whatever, and they were more or less polite about it, but, saying they weren't going to spend the money. But I know just kind of the way I was raised, what I seen, there was a local restaurant that did give them kind of that place to come and meet, that public place, and in a sense, give them that platform to where they got more exposure. So I think, to me, as far as like, the hate speech and everything, when you're running something, that public or, a social media platform, I think people feel that sense of responsibility to not allow these types of people to have that, platform to spread that and grow, which I can understand coming from that. Now, am I saying they're right or wrong for making that choice? I really can't say. I think, they're going to make whatever choice they feel is best. But at the same time, I see the side you're coming from as well, saying we would want to know this. And yeah, absolutely. I would want to know if, there was a racist white supremacist living across from me. I have, family members that are interracial and in interracial relationships. And if you look down on my family, that's a big red flag to me that I don't want to socialize or be anything around you. But I do understand, where some of these corporations come from, feeling like they have this responsibility not to provide that platform at the same time.
Yeah.
But so my thing is the issue is that sure are you familiar with Section 230 at all? Can you
Yes.
can you give
Yeah,
some
I mean,
like
more or less,
explanation?
I familiarize myself with it.
I've attempted to. I haven't.
The second stimulus bill, whenever that was a big thing, and everyone was looking it up.
What can you explain just in a very clear, cut, dry idea of what Section 230 is?
Yeah, give me 1 second right here. I mean, I know, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, anything like that. So as far as this explanation going,
just your understanding
that far into detail, it's not going to be that way. But I know what it does is it protects these owners and companies that do provide the platform. It protects them, from being held accountable, for what somebody publishes or uses on their website. And they're not held accountable for that content.
So Section 230 absolves them, or is that the right term?
I mean, to a certain extent.
It provides an immunity too.
For, like, if I were to post hate speech, it would be my responsibility and not Facebook's.
Yeah, no, it's exactly.
So they're already protected there. And I don't know why you wouldn't allow... Like, I don't know why the right is pushing to do away with Section 230. If, like, you have a two opposing ideas where...
Wait, the right is pushing to get rid of that?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, that's Trump. Trump has, for like the last 2 weeks, said do away with Section 230, Section 230, Section 230.
So it would become
Am I wrong?
the fault of
Have they not
Facebook.
been saying that?
No, that was one of the big things that they were pushing to get into, when the failed stimulus raise, when they were trying to raise from 600 to 2,000, was to abolish
repeal
Section 230, which to me
that
was
already
a bit confusing, and I'm on the left, and I know people on the right that thought it was a bit confusing on why you would be pushing for this.
Like you're wanting to do away with censorship, but you're wanting to make the companies responsible for what people post. Like that's a really confusing stance to take.
Now, would that in turn make them have more
censor harder?
Well, it would make them censor. Like you would think that
Section
it
would
230
make them
was
censor
already
harder,
repealed.
but would that also give them control over content and like the sense of monetization going to these platforms instead of the people bringing in the people? Does that make sense?
I'm confused at what you're saying.
What I'm saying. Would that give them more control over the individual's content?
I mean, in a sense, I guess, because they would be responsible for what you post.
Yeah, but would they be responsible in the sense of they
would be held liable if you
in
posted.
The sense that they could be held accountable as though the company itself was what published whatever was said,
as if that was their belief too.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you would think with the way that they're censoring everybody, you would think they've already repealed Section 230 or abolished it, but they haven't. So it's very confusing what we're experiencing.
Maybe they're acting upon it now so that
if
there's less of a need
to
abolish the Section 230.
But I would almost rather have Section 230 and speak freely than to
have the possibility of it being censored.
Yeah. Because I think bad ideas are still good ideas to know what not to do. So if I have somebody who I'm acquaintances with on Facebook that's spouting hate speech, I know what not to say.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's really important for youth growing up, knowing what not to do.
Yeah.
Because to caveat a little bit onto that, I mean, you look at a lot, especially within the scientific field, because I've done that, for a while. I have a master's in microbiology. We learn through failure, and we go back and we read, these failed projects, these failed experiments, these failed hypotheses. So I can understand, yeah, definitely, where you're coming from on that. And then even in the military, some of the biggest learning opportunities are these, failed missions. I mean, Lord knows they make plenty of movies out of all this failure because they want people to learn from it.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of, like, it's a double-edged sword at the same time, because your mistakes or your failures then also become part of your downfall 10 years from now when you become somebody, right? Like, that's what everybody keeps going after people, the cancel culture. They go after people for what they said 10, 15 years ago when they were dumb and stupid. So, like, we live in a really dumb society to want to censor everything and then not allow you to change your beliefs 10 years later. Like, it's so confusing and annoying.
I don't know if they won't allow you to, but it's almost like it's unfathomable to them that someone would change their mind about something.
Well, I mean,
Unfathomable.
It's so how about that stimulus? There's no real way to, like, that's the issue with everything political or religious, is there's no right answer, right?
And I mean, and I think that's the real thing that people have to realize. There's no right. There's plenty of wrong answers, but there's no right answer. And like I said, I've got people from all over and the political spectrum, and every single one of them, none of them are out here, waving Molotov cocktails, screaming "Death to America!" I hate this place so much. I want the entire country to die. Everyone has their own beliefs on what would, strengthen the United States. Now, do some people get extreme in their beliefs? Absolutely. I mean, you look at what happened, January 6th. That was, to me, there was no reason for that. But at the same time, I understand where that mindset came from, that they felt so pushed and so cornered to the point of that kind of retaliation.
And we've
seen the same thing over the summer with the Black Lives Matter. Now, I do want to, say I am in no way comparing the two because they're not comparable to me. But the mindset of feeling like you're so backed into this corner that there's no other way out other than to, push back. I mean, it's just like there's only so many times you can go up to somebody and poke them before you're going to get hit. And I feel like that's kind of the mindset on both things, even though the events themselves, I don't believe are comparable.
I agree with you 100% that they're the same in the mindset that pushed the events. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Both feel frustrated.
They're not the same in the reason for the events transpiring, but BLM was... It was a movement that was pushed because of the habitual act of violence against black people from government officials, police officers, right? Yeah. This was specifically them not liking the alleged voter fraud in the states that they were alleged voter fraud.
Yeah. And see, that's what kind of bothered me. I was like, you have 200 years of legitimate reasons to want to, storm the Capitol and, take care of business, as some people so eloquently put it with the government. And the reason you do is based around conspiracies and lies. And I'm like, of all the reasons, of 200 years of legitimate reasons to do this, you do it over unfounded conspiracies.
Well, and I'm 100% with you again with that. I think the reasoning that they stormed the Capitol was less than idiotic, justified. Yes, the mindset was there. People were frustrated. They felt like they had no other choice but to do something to be heard. The issue is...
Yeah, that's kind of where I was saying that. I mean, like I said, as far as how they got to that point is, just a completely different, thing on why I got my own beliefs on it. I'm going to try not to get into those too much.
Sure.
My beliefs are my beliefs,
but that's part of it too.
I know there are people that have similar beliefs, and there are people that have extremely anti, beliefs that I do.
But that's part of it, is the belief aspect of it, right? Like during the summer, you had the BLM protests, and then you had worship services that were categorized as protests because you had a whole bunch of people that were out. There was one, forget his name. It was Sean. Was it Sean?
Oh,
I can't remember. It was during the summer. It was in the height of the BLM protests, and you had a worship leader who was out protesting, quote unquote. And I sent it to somebody, and I said, "This is kind of bullshit, but it also makes sense."
Yeah,
like it's the same ideology. It's not the same thing, but it's the same idea of, I feel like I'm being looked at, or I feel like my rights are being infringed upon. I need to protest this event, right?
I really think if more people in the United States could put aside, their political identity and talk, they would see a lot of people hold these, same beliefs and what they perceive as being true. I mean, do I think the government is overreaching? Absolutely. I mean, and I know that there are people that have been all over me, but like, oh, you're left leaning. You got to be happy that Democrats control the House, Senate, and the presidency. And I'm like, no, not really, because now at this point we have no kind of counter belief. Yeah, you'll get it in speeches, but you have no real contest to one side of the spectrum.
So that's the idea of capitalism. That's why capitalism has been the social, what's that? The social ideology that we've experienced for so long in America.
Oh yeah.
The idea with capitalism is that it pushes innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have one company that pushes this idea, and then another company comes along and they make that idea better.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of capitalism.
Competition.
That's part of why our government works the way that it does, is to have challenging ideas and to push change and innovation.
But it became something so much else.
It did.
So, yeah.
The issue with capitalism is that it's so easy for it to become corrupt.
Yeah.
Where you have a monopoly, even though we have laws against monopoly, you have monopolies that happen. You have companies whose hands are in the pockets of politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, my overwhelming issue with everything that's gone on in our country is that our government was never meant to have the power they have.
Yeah.
The government was meant to uphold the Constitution, not add a whole bunch of laws and technicalities and, a bump stock is technically not okay. You can have the gun, but you can't have the bump stock. Well, there's no reason for me to have a bump stock, but if I want to buy one, I should be able to. So the government has added laws and amendments and things that control the way that we perceieve our freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
And don't even get me started on the Patriot Act and everything concerning Edward Snowden. That's
good.
That's an episode.
Let's get you started
on my beliefs on how far the government overstepped their boundaries with that, and then how I don't know how trained the people were, to immediately back the government when Snowden exposed this kind of corruption in the government, that the government is spying on its own citizens, and people just dehumanized and just absolutely made him out to be, Satan himself on earth, because how dare he stand against the government?
Well, you should not be made out to be a criminal if you expose criminal activity within the government. I mean, that goes without saying, but it doesn't, because we are controlled by the government.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you look, and I've said this forever, that that the government can pass laws so easily because these laws don't pertain to these people.
Yeah.
If you had somebody, term limits, and then that's, term limits after your term's up or you get voted out, that's it. You don't get, your federal protections, for life. You don't get your salary for life. All of a sudden, it's welcome back to the real world. Congratulations, you now have to live under the laws you passed. You would see a big change in the United States.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and just like, so the one that really gets me is taxes, right? We all pay it, but those at the top don't. Yeah. And we're stuck
because they figure out ways to manipulate all the tax loopholes and things like that. Jim Justice.
Right. So the people that are writing laws for us to pay taxes, taxes in theory are a great thing, right? Other than the fact that I'm paying for health insurance for somebody else to have, but I don't have it myself currently. That's a fucked up system. And it's the worst. Like, we live a partially socialistic system because I'm paying taxes for somebody else to do these things, but I'm not getting the benefits of paying those things. So it's the worst possible socialistic system that we could be a part of is what we've been living.
It's like I've had this conversation many times since, the first with people that, socialism has become just such a buzzword, fear word in the United States. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how socialistic we are in the United States, except for to the middle class. There's no way that, the United States is laissez-faire capitalism. It's not. And you have all these things. Public schools are, ran through socialism. The military, the post office, highways, public parks, public pools. I mean, I sat down at one point in time and I came up with, it was like 50 some different programs that are ran with, based around the idea of socialism. And I've traveled. I've been in 27 countries. I've been on every single continent on the earth. And I've been in countries that are, very socialist. And when I say, I mean, democratic socialist, I don't mean, a socialistic regime that, you might see in Venezuela, which is everyone's first key picture of socialism.
Soviet Russia.
But, like in New Zealand is a socialistic country. A democratic socialist country, and they're the most free country in the world, and I absolutely love it there, and the people love it there. Yes, they paid taxes, but they reaped the benefits of paying their taxes. They got to see their taxes at work for them, versus here in the United States. Last year, I paid over $42,000 in taxes, and I haven't seen anything that really benefits me. The roads in my state are still god awful. Like I said, I didn't get provided that kind of health care. I had go out and find my own health care. So to me, when I'm paying over $42,000 a year in taxes and not seeing it, and not even seeing it help my community, is a problem.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think me and you stand pretty similar when it comes to taxes and I mean,
and don't get me wrong, I think taxes, when utilized right,
in theory, they're a great thing, but they are abused and overused to keep us poor, more or less.
I've said this, and Lord knows I'm going to piss some people off when I say this right here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I hurt some of your fans, feelings on this one. But I've said it for years. The American dream is dead.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well, there's never been an American dream.
Don't get me wrong. I know a guy. Whenever I was going through college, he came here. He had 10 American dollars in his pocket, and he was able, to put together. He was able to put together a decent, middle class life, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of good people do that. I do that, but to escape that middle class in the United States is almost impossible. I mean, you're going to have your Zuckerbergs who do it. You're going to have people like that. But you have people that are the 1% of the 1% that can escape that middle class, because the United States states the middle class is the backbone, and the government doesn't want to lose the backbone of its country, so they can't have everybody escaping it. So naturally, they are going to do things. They're going to fill bills with pork in order to hold this middle class within the middle class. It's a caste system without saying it's a caste system.
And I don't even think we have a true middle class anymore. You have the lower and upper class is really what it's come down to. Because even if you're in the middle class, you're still scraping by. I mean, you might be able to save some, but you're not saving thousands of dollars a month for when that thing on your car goes bad, because you still own a used car. You know, it's not like you're buying the new thing every year. So
and it's like I completely agree with that, because my entire life I was told get an education and work hard and
you'll be somebody.
Yeah, and I did. I've got 2 master's degrees. I have worked my butt off, and all I see from it is my taxes continue to go up whenever I make more.
Yep.
And the money in my bank stay relatively the same.
Yep.
And it's I know. Am I saying that I'm getting the same kind of money now that I was when I was 18? Absolutely not. But that's just an evolution of life and tied in with inflation. And the job I have now is a lot better than what I had at 18.
Sure.
But as far as when we were talking about escaping, the economic classes, I mean, I still have it, and I mean, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here or anything. I still have it, and I'm making about $180,000 a year, and it's mainly because my taxes continue to go up and up and up.
Yeah.
And am I saying I'm at a point where I'm not living comfortably and don't have the ability to help people? Absolutely not, because I do have the ability to help people, and I do help people as much as I can. But at the same time, to me, it's insane that I've been told this entire stuff, get an education is that you're going to, make a lot of money and be somebody. And I'm still not really seeing that. I'm still seeing the middle class, which is okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
For me personally. Now I know there are people that, they want to, they want to go into that high class life.
Well, I mean, but like, I don't know. It's so hard to talk about it and have an understanding of it, because there's so much involved in it. There's so many loopholes and deductions when you get up to that higher level that we aren't even taught. We don't know about, because we're not technically supposed to know about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want us to.
It's like whenever you change tax brackets, because I'm not in the same tax bracket I was when I was 18. So when you're filing these taxes, you're not told about this. Like I said, I paid, $42,000 in taxes. I wasn't told how to do all this stuff. And last year I got audited because I had no idea about any of this stuff. And I'm on the phone for hours with this person from the IRS.
Damn.
And they're not happy with me. And I'm like, I've never been educated on this. Like, if you educated me on it, I could learn it and I'd have no problem. But for the fact that you want to get hateful and snappy with me, and I have no idea what I'm doing because I've been educated to this, is a failure in the system.
Sure. Well, and I don't believe it's by mistake. I believe that they put that there by design to, or that they keep it from being part of the things we're taught in school. I mean, I didn't know how to write a check until about a few years ago, because I'd never needed to. They don't teach us how to balance. They don't teach us how to be financially responsible. They teach us how to go make money, and that's it.
Yeah.
They teach us how to be good workers.
It's like nobody taught me in school. I mean, my father, taught me as I was growing up. No one taught me how to balance a checkbook, how to write an efficient budget. No one taught me how to do my own taxes. And when I grew up and I learned these things, I looked at it and I was like, I'm starting to see why. Because you have people making a lot of money off of it. You look at, H&R Block, how many how much money do you think they make every tax season just from doing people's taxes?
Yeah, absolutely. That's their business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And am I mad at them for running a business? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I was just like, it's crazy to me how much money they make just based off the fact that we fail to teach kids these things. And I mean, the first time I've done my taxes, I mean, I was basically crying over my computer because I had no idea what I was going to do.
Oh, and you don't know how much.
I was mortified because my entire life I've been told, you messed up your taxes, you're going to jail, and that's it. And I'm like,
yeah. And they know how much they require from us. Instead of just telling us, hey, this is what you owe, or this is what we're giving you.
You've got to figure it out.
You
on
have
your
to
own.
figure it out. And then if they get by with you not asking for all of it, they get away with not paying you all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's the dumbest system. And if you don't have all of your deductions, if you don't have everything in there, then they get away with not giving you back everything you're owed.
Mm.
Well, that's why I like New Zealand. Working with some people and talking with them, is they don't have that system like that. Yeah, they get taxed. It comes out, every check or whatnot, and pretty much you get a receipt from the government saying, "Hey, you paid this much in taxes, throughout the year," and they can do additional withholding how we can here, and it'll come through at the end of the year. Here's your receipt, you're good, or here's your receipt and money back.
Well, so that kind of pushes into the stimulus talk too, right? How our government, I haven't gotten a stimulus yet. I've got a wife and 2 kids, and I have not gotten any kind of stimulus. We have credit cards that have gotten a little bit out of hand because the last couple months have been slow.
Yeah.
Right? And I work a commission job, and it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the nature of the business. But the stimulus check was supposed to, it's confusing because a stimulus check you would think would stimulate the economy, right? It should be for frivolous spending. But that's not what our government wants. They want us to get by. They want us to pay the minimum amount of bills that we can to get by into the next 6 months whenever they decide to do another round of stimulus.
Mm-hmm. And really,
so it's very confusing the way that they do it, because the stimulus check should be to stimulate the economy, but it's for paying our bills. But they also didn't even give it to us. Because
and what bothers me with it, and this just goes on to how allegiance, but this tells me how corrupt the government actually is. You have the McConnells and the Pelosi's taking these bills that are meant to help people that need the help. There are people out there that 100% need this help. Oh, yeah. Because whenever Corona first come through, was it 34 million Americans lost their jobs?
Yeah.
But bills didn't stop, which was insane to me that these people lost their jobs due to no fault of their own, and there was no government mandates on these companies saying, hey,
yeah,
pump the brakes, or hey, just once we get everything sorted out, add an extra $5 a month until it's caught up.
Well, and I'll go on record of saying this too, and if anybody gets offended by this, I'm sorry, but Trump's not the reason for it. Trump has pushed for a standalone stimulus bill for like the last 6 months, and the people in Congress can't be bothered to work with him for 2 minutes.
Mostly Mitch McConnell.
but it's Pelosi too.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is my thing too. Is that
and they point fingers at Trump saying he's the bad guy.
You have the McConnells and the Pelosi's that are so adamant about getting, identity politics pushing these bills. I mean,
yeah.
What was the one with like it was like 1,600 pages or something like that. I can't remember the exact number that they pushed out, and
yeah,
it was for a $600 stimulus check. And I know there's been big,
it wasn't just a $600 stimulus.
But you can't tell me that to help the American public and give them $600, which by the way is definitely not enough, that it takes 1,600 pages, and then you give these people 12 hours to read 1,600 pages. That's, if I'm doing the math, I'll do the math real quick here. Alrighty. Yeah, That's 2.5 pages read per minute. And I'm a fast reader. There's no way I'm reading 2.5 pages every minute.
Hey, JR, can you take it off speaker and say that? Because it doesn't sound good.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me? How about now?
We're going to take a quick break, do a quick ad read, and then we'll pop back on. Ben, do you want to tell them what we've got going on right now?
Oh, well, we got a lot of things going on right now. First and foremost, you can go to SperoCloth.com and save 10% on any Spero Cloth item.
The link is in the show notes.
And you can use discount code MMP. That is MMP for Moment Makers Podcast. But we also have this great giveaway going on right now.
Ooh, gimme.
Yeah, I believe it's 2 shirts, 2 long sleeves, 2 hoodie, or 1 hoodie. Yeah, 2 shirts, 2 long sleeves, 1 hoodie.
Yeah.
And this is a limited collection that only runs for 30 days. It's only until the end of January. So this is your chance. You can go enter the giveaway.
So the giveaway is actually until the end of this week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's only...
Because we're announcing it next Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you want in, you better do it now.
You can go to our Instagram, Spero Cloth, Spero_Cloth, and look at our posts there, and you can get all the information and enter into the contest and share it with your friends, and you get more entries with the contest. Yeah. So go ahead, do that.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of stuff coming in February. As you previously stated, the 2 shirts, 2 long sleeves, and a hoodie, that's going to be the drop for February.
Yeah.
We've got some sick designs coming.
We've got a lot of really cool stuff that
we're really excited for February.
Yeah.
January was kind of a soft push.
Soft
it was a little bit more themed in a realm that I don't think a lot of people our age care for.
Yeah.
Maybe all that much.
Poker's cool.
Poker's cool, but it's not a lifestyle.
No, it's not. Poker's not a lifestyle.
So we've got a little bit more kind of all-around designs coming.
Yeah. I think we got some really cool... I like the one you did right before this drop, the In Pizza We Crust. Those.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed those.
And we might do a conspiracy collection
I think we should.
coming up, too.
I think we really should.
Depending on how all this stuff shakes out, we might do some QAnon. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We're not getting into that.
Shouldn't. Alex Jones, maybe?
Alex Jones, yes.
Alex Jones.
We love us some Alex Jones.
We do.
So we'll get back into the podcast, but go to SperoCloth.com, code MMP to save 10% on your entire order. So, JR, with how terrible the government is, we were talking about the stimulus bill and how, like, $600 is next to nothing. I mean, that might pay a couple of bills, depending on who you are.
That'll pay your rent.
Maybe. Not even.
Right.
That'll pay a portion of rent for some people.
Yeah.
So they did not intend to actually help the American people with this stimulus bill. Because $600 is nothing.
Yeah.
Again, we'll state that fact. But they also put in an exorbitant amount of money going to these other countries.
Yeah,
that
like $72 million going to Pakistan for gender studies. Do you actually think that's going to gender studies? I don't know.
Well, and I've heard it explained in a way that Pakistan is a country that does not value women the same way that Americans do. Right? They are not equals.
Okay.
So
that's a different perspective.
It was pushed into that side of things. It's not for, like, if a man is a man, if a woman's a woman, into that, like, that realm of LGBTQ stuff. It's not for that. It's for something in the realm of equal rights.
Yeah. Okay. If that's the case, then that's fair.
But it's not fair because it's a stimulus bill.
Yeah, true. But there's like $10 million going to new furniture for the fucking White House or something.
Yeah. And so they put a bunch of money in for things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, had we gotten the totality of the bill, we'd all be getting like $2,700 a piece.
And I understand a lot of it goes to businesses so that they can compensate their employees, or they can keep themselves afloat, because restaurants, hotels, any service industry type thing right now is doing terrible because no one's going out, no one's doing anything, no one's spending money, so they can't keep themselves afloat. They can't pay their employees, and Yeah. So if it went to the American people and it went to businesses, that's all fine and dandy. But there's so much more that it's going to that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think really like I said, my whole thing on it is now I think it ought to be helping the small businesses, and I'll say it again. I think Pelosi and Bitch McConnell are the two most corrupt politicians in DC, and I don't care which side of the aisle you stand on, and I don't care if you like one of them and hate the other one. You have to admit they're almost one and the same, and they both want to take care of their people. And when I say their people's not you and I. Their people are the ones that are giving them millions of dollars to run these campaigns. And you look at these bills that they push and the pork each one of them put in, it's to take care of these companies like that. They're taking care of the Walton families. They're taking care of these billion-dollar companies. They're taking care of the Jim Justices of the world. When in reality, right now, those aren't the people that need taken care of. Because I'm sorry if in the course of 11 months that 10, 11 months that this corona has been going around and stopping things. The small town guy running his own mechanic shop or running his own restaurant is hurting a lot more than a billionaire like Jim Justice. And if you somehow wasted over $1 billion in the course of 10 months, I don't have sympathy for you.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. The issue is not a left versus right. It's the American people versus the government. And that's the issue that I saw with what happened on the 6th is not what happened, but the reason for it happening. And we're about at time, and I think that's a good place to leave it. Did you have anything closing remarks that you wanted to leave us with today, JR?
Well, let's see. Really, I said just kind of, I'll double tap on things on the 6th. Like I said, I understand, some of that happened. I think, I have my own thoughts on it. And I think some of the mindset that drove it to happen was wrong. But I understand what was going on there. They felt like, what was going on with the government. And I just felt like, some of it might have been, misaligned mindset. That being said, that's actually a topic I'm going to cover on my page and in my web series, which, if you guys haven't been following along, is The Political Crossroads.
And we'll have that linked in the show notes.
I named it The Political Crossroads is I kind of want to retake the name PC. I feel like, the PC culture has went too far. And instead of being politically correct and censoring everything, I wanted to name something, that had the initials PC. That way that would promote and push, for these kind of hard conversations and at times uncomfortable conversations that's not into a censoring type of way. So you guys need to go over, check me out over at the Political Crossroads. If you have any questions, feel free to send them over there on the Facebook page, or you can actually email me at thepoliticalcrossroads.com. I'm currently looking for a few more people to jump in and be guests on the web series.
Awesome. And we'll have all that listed under in the show notes below. You're also co-hosting a podcast with Lyndon, who we've had on in the past as well. Do you want to give a little bit about that real quick before we sign off?
Absolutely. I'm co-hosting with Lyndon Childers in Austin, a podcast. It's called Life with Lyndon. Over there, we really kind of don't have a direction. It's going to be more of just a life discussion. We're going to talk about everything. We'll talk about, sports all the way up to, some things, double standards. And even at times, we're going to talk about relationships and how our views on relationships have changed. So that one is going to be a lot more of a relaxed kind of sit down conversation kind of style. And I'm really looking forward to co-hosting that. We're actually going to be recording our first podcast here in a few short weeks. So you guys need to be looking forward to that. And, of course, go over to Life with Lyndon podcast on Facebook and shoot us a like.
And we'll have that link down below. And I've actually talked to Lyndon a little bit. We've unofficially made that a part of the Moment Makers community. So you, as a result, a part of that as well. And we can talk more about that when we hop off. But we're glad to have had you on, talked a little bit of politics. I don't think we stepped on too many toes. I think these were just general beliefs and ideas that I think most people have, maybe
to a certain degree.
I don't know.
69 Fahrenheit degree.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had something that you wanted to add that you maybe thought that we didn't explain well enough, go to our Facebook or Instagram and tell us. Let us know what we should have said or not said. Let us have it. Rip us a new one.
Yeah.
But we'll see you guys in the next one.
No one understands my woes. You see them in a kaleidoscope. I just don't seem to